Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream of the Guest EdTech Virtual Summit Dubai. Thank you for joining us. A few bits of information about the live session before we get underway. For any attendees who haven't yet attended any of the previous live sessions today, there's a chat panel located on the right-hand side of the grid platform. Please feel free to ask us any questions, and our moderator will get back to you and pass these along to the speaker. Please note that because they are moderated, there may be a slight delay in your question or an answer showing. We'll do our very best to get through them all, but if we don't manage to, don't worry, as they're all saved in our system, and we'll get back to you after the event. If you'd like to watch the session all over again, we'll be uploading the recording here on the event platform shortly, so please keep an eye out for it. We're on social media during the summit, so if you want to connect there, follow us at Guest Education on Twitter and use the hashtag GuestEdTech. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Majed, Education Industry Director for Primary and Secondary Schools, Middle East and Africa at Microsoft. We'll be talking about empowering hybrid learning, the lessons learned, and what's next. We hope that you enjoy the session, and I'll now hand over to you, Majed.
Thank you, Danny. And thanks everyone for joining our session. My name is Majed. I'm the lead for the K-12 industry within Microsoft for Middle East and Africa. And today I'm going to be talking about hybrid learning, and I'll be sharing with you the lessons that we've learned working with the major education institutions around the region. And also we'll discuss a bit about what they are thinking next, given the current situation that everyone is facing. So before I dive into the lessons learned, I want to talk a little bit about what is going on and the concept of hybrid learning that we've been talking about, and that now it's become more of a reality and more of a need. Working with education institutions over the last few months, and basically because of the pandemic, remote learning was something that they had to do very reactively, and it was a necessity. And now that many of them have actually deployed remote learning, they are now thinking about what is next, and all the investments that they've done in the remote learning, they need to keep that investment and build on it and be able to transform so that they are well positioned for what is to come. So the concept of hybrid learning, we say it is here to stay. And basically, it has a lot of elements that make it an appealing thing for institutions. So first of all, it's interactive. And so don't think about this as the student sitting at home carrying a tablet and then just watching the content. The system needs to enable students to be interactive, to be well engaged, so the student can be engaged in the class, chatting with the other students, collaborating, working on team projects. The system also can be either synchronous or asynchronous. So you can have students attending a session live with the teachers, asking questions, interacting with video and chat, or it could be asynchronous. The student could consume the content at their own time, and then they do the assignments, they submit the assignments. Teacher at that time will be able to see which students submitted assignments and instantly can provide feedback. And that timely feedback to students will actually enhance the learning process and will help students tremendously. The solution also needs to be agile enough for all circumstances. So maybe students are not able to get to class, maybe half of the students are in class and the other half are joining from home. And so the solution needs to actually take all of this into consideration. And that last but not least, it needs to be planned with a good infrastructure that is able to scale from having one class or with 20 students or 100 students or 1,000 students or even 1 million. And so when we are implementing such systems, we need to be sure that we have the right environment. Before I go into the lessons learned and some of the customers that we've worked with, I want to highlight the deep investment that Microsoft has in education. So we have developers and engineers who are dedicated to creating products for education. Some of our products are actually designed for education when the products got created. Teams, for example, is one of them. We have special programs for education and special offers. We give a lot of our software for free for education. And we have dedicated resources in the different region that we cover. We have a huge team, and we work firsthand with education institutions, leaders and teachers around the region. So here are some of the education institutions that we've worked with. I want to highlight here the UAE. The UAE was actually one of the first countries to adopt remote learning, and they did it very smoothly and in a very short period of time. And this is because the UAE had actually started this journey a few years ago with hybrid learning, and they had the systems ready and the accounts for all students and teachers and teacher training and so on. So when the pandemic hit, the UAE was able to react very quickly and implement the solution fairly quickly without any major blockers. And so this was actually one of the great examples of how this strategy worked. Other countries we've worked with, Lebanon and Jordan, they weren't as ready as the UAE, and they don't have the infrastructure and capability of the UAE. With that said, they had a clear strategy and clear goal, and they said, we want to go with remote learning with this technology at that time. And it wasn't a walk in the park. It was a project that took a lot of effort, but they were able to actually go live with remote learning. And now they are thinking about the access for the rest of the student. Not all students have access to devices. And now that they have the system working and the majority of students using the system, now they started working towards the access. One of the biggest projects that we actually worked on in the region, and it's one of the largest single organization usage in the world, is Saudi Arabia. Within 1 week, more than 5 million students and teachers in Saudi Arabia went for remote learning. The project took a lot of time. I'll share a lot of these learnings, but basically this is how such systems work, and this is the work that we are doing with institutions. So what are the key elements of a successful implementation? And this is, again, based on the work that we've done with leading institutions. First and foremost, you have to have a clear vision and goals. And so this comes top down, whether it's a school, from the school leaders or the principal or the superintendent, whether it's a ministry from the minister top down. And so the decision needs to be coming from the top, and then it needs to be within a clear vision and a clear roadmap, and then showing what success looks like at different stages. As I mentioned, these are very big projects, and so we need to identify short-term goals to begin with. And you break up this project into small milestones, and then eventually you do a phased rollout. Why are we talking about a phased rollout? So let's say you want to release, you want to roll out such a project for 1 million students. You're going to have a lot of teachers who maybe they got the training, but they will face issues. Maybe the systems, there's a glitch in the systems. Maybe the telco systems cannot scale, and there's some tuning that they have to do from the telco side. And so there's a lot of elements related to how the solution scales. So what we recommend is a phased approach. So for example, if you're talking about a countrywide, maybe do different cities at different days, or maybe start with grade 10, and then the next day you do grade 11, and the next day you do grade 12. And then you do it like a phased approach like this. Your support team will be able to scale, your IT team will be able to respond. And so this is the right strategy. Teacher training is actually, one of the key success elements, and I cannot stress this enough. Teacher training and readiness is at the core of this. It makes or breaks the solution. Setting the solution from an IT perspective is straightforward. Getting the teacher trained and ready, this is actually a big project by itself. The way that we usually do it is we get a group of teachers, we do a train the trainer session, and these teachers become the champions and the change makers. In turn, they go and train teachers, and there's two elements of teacher training. There's the use of technology, how do I use Teams? And then there's the use of technology in education. How can I leverage technology to teach math, to teach science, and to teach it remotely? And so the teacher training, I can talk hours about it, but it's a key element of this project. Clear and constant communications. And so, as we mentioned, we need to have clear goals and a clear vision. This needs to be communicated at all levels of the institution and to parents as well. There is an element of internal communication and external communication and PR. And so, again, this is kind of a whole project by itself, and it needs a work stream by itself. I am an IT person and I work for a technology company, but this is not an IT project. We've seen many institutions treat it as such, and unfortunately, it doesn't succeed if it's treated as an IT project. There's a lot of stakeholders that need to come into play, and so involving the key stakeholders is something that you have to do. Curriculums need to be in it. Teacher training and PD needs to be in it. QA and assessments need to be in it. And so all these elements, IT is an enabler, and an IT system is an enabler for this. However, this is not an IT project, and you need all the stakeholders to come together to make it work. And then lastly, you need the right partners. These are big projects, and there's a lot of pitfalls, and then there's a lot of best practices. So if you partner with the right solution providers, and then if you have the right partners to advise you and be next to you, you have better chances of avoiding the pitfalls and then making sure that you implement this in the fastest way possible. These projects are typically multi-year projects. In the pandemic, we've seen work that normally takes 2 years be done in 2 months. And so with a lot of challenges though, but it is doable, and having the right partner will actually increase your chances of success. This is a big project. Now, project management is one key aspect, but change management is another aspect. Whereas project management manages tasks and systems, change management deals with the human aspect of the change. And so teachers are a key stakeholder, parents are a key stakeholder, school leaders are a key stakeholder. And so managing all these factors and making sure that we introduce the change in a good way and we plan it in a good way is key also to a successful project. And lastly, this is not a point-in-time project. So you have to create a feedback loop. You have to get the feedback from teachers, from students, from parents, and then adjust the system and keep improving the system as such. Teacher PD is one of these things where it's not only a point in time. So you train the teachers, and then there's an element of continuous coaching and then continuous development for the teachers. So with that said, what is next? What are customers that have deployed remote learning in a short period of time looking for, what are the conversations that we've been having with them. Before I get to that, I want to mention a key research that we've done with McKinsey and Company with their education practice. And we conducted this research on what are the elements of a successful project. So by the way, we have questions. I'll address them later at the end of the session when we are done. Thank you, Dan, for mentioning that. So basically, the research highlights what are some of the key elements of success of students and how do we make students more successful. So we see that more than around 42% of companies and employers say that the students graduating do not have the right skills. And these skills, the soft skills, are the ones that we see mostly lacking. So they know math and physics and science, but they are lacking some of the soft skills. And this is where personalized learning actually helps. And this is where the hybrid learning environment helps. And this is where research shows that an element of personalized learning and a good relationship between the teacher and the student on a personal level, where the teacher knows the student, will actually give the student better chances of success. And the view of this is actually different. If you ask teachers or students about the relationship, you get different views, as you can see in this research right here. So the technology creates an opportunity, but there's a lot of aspects and perspectives beyond this. So I'll talk about technology first and what are the technology solutions that these institutions are looking at. And I grouped them into three groups: intelligent environments, student and school success, and teaching and learning. The first thing almost that all institutions ask us for once they do the remote learning is data and AI. How do I monitor how many students are joining? How many classes am I doing? How many teachers are joining? If I have any issues. After that, they ask about how are the students doing in the classroom? What is the performance? How do I measure every student? And it goes into the teacher giving insight to teachers about the students in their class and the engagement level and so on. So you need this visibility of data, and this in a lot of ways actually enables the personalized learning. So you need that data to use it, and then you need the system to allow you to do personalized learning. Next, they ask us about an assessment system. So how do I do examinations, both informal on a continuous basis, and then at the end of the year, I need to make sure that I have a secure assessment system that I can use for examinations. Inevitably, there's the conversation around curriculum. How do we improve the curriculum? What can we leverage? How do we evolve it so that it fits within the hybrid learning environment? Another aspect is security. This is overlooked in most situations, but then it quickly comes to the forefront. I was looking at research recently. More than 50% of cyber attacks in the recent time are actually targeted on education industry, more than governments, more than financial services. And so it is a big target for cyber attacks. And we need to make sure that we have a very secure system in place to ensure the safety and security of the students. Other aspects that we are hearing from customers is around accessibility. There's a lot of students with disabilities, and making sure that we cater for that is a key consideration that institutions are looking at. And this is where also the question of equity comes in. I mentioned an example where not all students have access to technology. So how do we make sure that we provide different channels for different students to interact in a productive way? Another thing is about social and emotional learning. The research that I mentioned before actually highlights this. There's an element, the social element to the learning, and this is where a lot of institutions are looking into how do they enhance their LMS systems, and how do they make it so that it's more social, it's more engaging for the students, it's taking into consideration the emotional aspect of students being at home perhaps and not interacting in the same ways that they used to. Future ready skills is another key component, and this is actually also highlighted in the research. So in here, we have things like game-based learning, and we have things like coding. And these are aspects that institutions are looking at, from enhancing maybe the curriculum or having extracurricular activities that help students develop this. On top of this, there's devices. So do we provide, let's say, tablet devices that student can access content on, or is it more fitting to do laptop kind of devices where the students are actually doing assignments and submitting assignments and interacting and creating, and maybe a tablet with a pen? So I have such device here, and it makes it more engaging, more so for teachers, but if students can get it as well, that would be great. We highlighted the importance of teacher development, and it's a continuous thing. So again, this is always coming up over and over again. How do we ensure the educator capacity, but beyond that, the capacity of the whole organization? And lastly, it's optimizing the operations, making sure that we have the right operational structure. From an IT perspective, this is where you get the discussions, this is where you get the discussions around the cloud solutions, for example. This is where you get discussions around virtual labs and how do you allow students to access such technology. So we talked about the technology solutions, but I'll remind you that I mentioned that most of these projects are not technology projects only. IT is an enabler. So all the elements that I mentioned in these three pillars, they're actually part of what we call the education transformation framework. The ETF is a framework that Microsoft created based on research over many years. So this is not something new. We've had this years ago, but it's evolved, it's matured. And so as you are planning your journey for the next few years, this is a great resource that you can leverage to help guide you through that process of implementing the change, planning for the change, and then implementing the change. So if you go to aka.ms/ETF, you can access this. So the question that we always get is, how can Microsoft help, and what can we do to assist? First of all, we provide a lot of technology for free. So we have Office 365 education that is free for all education. Many people know about Teams for online learning, but this solution is actually a collection of services. So every student and teacher, they get an email, they get cloud storage, they get a way to do assignments, they get OneNote for note taking and sharing, they get Stream, which is a video library. So we have a lot of services designed for education that we give away for free. In addition to that, we have, like I said, discounted programs where if organizations want more control, more productivity online and offline, we have very specific programs for education where you can purchase for teachers, and then students get a lot of products for free. Teams is a great tool, and the reason why Teams has been successful is because everything happens in Teams. You can do classes, you can do assignments, you can do sharing files, you can do recordings. All of this happens in Teams, and you can integrate your LMS system and the insights. And so it's the one place where teachers and students will go, and that will allow them to pretty much do all the tasks that they have to. We listen to our customers. So for example, the 7x7 video is based on feedback that we've heard from customers that say, from teachers saying, I want to see the whole class. The together mode is, for example, based on research. So if students are attending classes all day, they feel, they get what we call meeting fatigue. So when you get them in a setting sitting next to each other, you start getting these interesting interactions, student high-fiving each other and so on. And so it makes the classes more engaging. We have a lot of resources that help you. So Microsoft.com/education is where I would recommend that you start. Then we've got the ETF, which is the Education Transformation Framework. We have a K-12 version and a higher ed version. And we have what we call the EduJourney, edujourney.microsoft.com. If you go there, this is a guide where you identify yourself as a leader or a teacher or an IT professional, and then it guides you through the whole process of how you can lead that transformation. For teachers, we have education.microsoft.com, which is the Microsoft Innovative, the MEC, we call it, Microsoft Educator Center. And it highlights the Innovative Educator Program. And this is a program for educators that you can go register to become an MIE, and then you can take trainings on technology and the use of technology in education. There's a community of teachers where you can share best practices. And then for the teachers who become leaders in the field, who are coaching, who are creating, we have what we call MIEEs, Microsoft Innovative Educator Experts. And this is a great program that I would suggest all educators to go and check it out and register for it. We have online events and webinars for coding in STEM. We have something called Make Code for gamifications. We have Minecraft. Minecraft comes with a chemistry set with coding, like you are seeing here, block coding. So we have great resources there to help you get a quick start there. We have something called the Imagine Cup, and recently we released Imagine Cup Junior for students in K-12. And this is basically a competition, worldwide competition. I'm glad to announce that one of the winners of the Imagine Cup Junior actually are from our region, from GEM schools. They created an application for detecting the health of the lungs based on the breathing sound, and they used AI for that. So it's a great incentive for students. They actually won Surface devices, which is great. And so we have that. I encourage you to go and explore it. So with that, for the question, how can Microsoft help? Microsoft.com/education is the first place you start. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of us in your regions. So contact us. We will be happy to assist you as Microsoft and our partners. So with that, I'm not sure if we have how much time we have for questions, but I will try to answer as many questions as I can. Danny, please.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but all the questions will be saved in our system. And attendees can also connect with you directly through the event platform. So we'll send across all the questions to you, Majed. And if any of the audience wants to connect with you, they can do that directly through the event platform, because unfortunately we've run out of time. Thank you so much, Majed, once again. That was very informative. If anyone from the audience has any further questions, just like I said, you can either email us to marketing@guesteducation.com or put it in a chat box on the right-hand side. You'll also be able to connect with Majed directly through the virtual event platform. You'll be redirected to a short survey once we end the session, so please let us know what you thought. If there are any topics you'd like or suggestions of speakers you'd like to hear from, we'd love to hear your thoughts. A big thank you, Majed, once again, and to our audience who tuned into the session. We're not yet done with the program for today. Make sure you don't miss out on the next and final live session, which will be an amazing keynote about the digitalization age, delivered by education evangelist Jamie Kassab, joining us all the way from the USA. The session will start at 7 p.m., so in approximately 7 p.m. UAE time, so in approximately 10 minutes. We hope that you enjoy the rest of the session. Take care and see you in the next session. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, Majed.